China. The viral TikToks from Chinese factory workers, the internet is now in a frenzy over claims that some of the most iconic designer bags are actually born in the...
A lot of requests, do Hermes next. And that's why we're here in the Highland Park Mall.
Made in China. Or maybe made in Chile. Oh yeah, that should be a thing, by the way.
They told us it was made in France. That every Hermes bag, every Louis Vuitton wallet, every Gucci loafer was handcrafted in a sunlit European atelier by old-world artisans whispering secrets over silk thread. But that was a lie, because behind those $20,000 price tags and the illusion of luxury lies a truth so scandalous, it's setting TikTok on fire and exposing the biggest con in fashion history. What if your luxury bag was actually made in the back of a Chinese factory, right next to mass-market knockoffs? Welcome to the world of luxury fashion, a realm where elegance is currency, exclusivity is a performance, and branding is practically a religion. In this world, a single handbag isn't just an accessory. It's a statement. It's power. It's identity. The Hermès Birkin isn't just a bag. It's a gated community in leather. Louis Vuitton doesn't sell luggage. It sells legacy. Gucci doesn't just offer clothing. It offers you entrance into a club of curated cool. The price tags? Astronomical. The wait lists? Biblical. And the marketing? Flawless. We've been told over and over again that what we're buying is craftsmanship, history, art, a piece of Europe's most sacred traditions, hand-stitched by artisans with centuries of technique in their blood. We imagined elderly French or Italian craftsmen sitting at wooden work tables, whispering stories of old family secrets while threading silk through calfskin. And for decades, the fashion houses let us believe that was true. But in 2025, the illusion is cracking. Because a new wave of digital whistleblowers has entered the chat, and they're not fashion critics. They're not journalists. They're not even disgruntled ex-employees. They're factory workers, many of them in China, and they're going viral. Posting from anonymous accounts, filming inside industrial sewing rooms, showing us what luxury fashion never wanted the public to see. Stacks of Hermes handles. Rolls of Louis Vuitton canvas. Gucci patterns laid out beside budget brand blueprints. And here's the twist. These aren't knockoffs. These aren't counterfeits. These are real components, real parts of the luxury items sold in high-end boutiques around the world. The same hands sewing polyester fast fashion are now, quietly, stitching the same seams you'll find in a $20,000 handbag. And they're calling the industry out. TikTok, YouTube, and even Xiaohongshu, the Chinese Instagram, have been flooded with videos from workers who are done staying silent. They're exposing the secret assembly lines, the backdoor subcontracting, and the assembly instructions that tie directly to fashion houses in Paris, Milan, and Florence. And it's raising a question that luxury consumers don't want to ask. If the production starts in China, but finishes in France, is it really made in France? Turns out, the answer lies in a legal loophole big enough to drive a delivery truck through. According to EU regulations, a product only has to undergo its last substantial transformation in Europe to earn that coveted Made in France or Made in Italy label. That means the bulk of the work, the material cutting, stitching, prepping, assembling, can happen overseas. As long as the bag is shipped back to France for the final polish, a button here, a stitch there, boom, it qualifies. The brand gets to keep the illusion intact. The consumer never knows. It's a global shell game, and the luxury brands are the magicians. They've made billions off the myth of European purity, while quietly exploiting cheaper labor and faster production cycles overseas. They count on their customers not knowing. Or worse, not wanting to know. But now the curtain's being pulled back, and the truth is leaking out video by video, post by post. Influencers are being tagged. Celebrities are being questioned. Longtime customers are starting to wonder what exactly they've been paying for all these years. And maybe the scariest part for the industry? The workers aren't just revealing where the bags come from. They're revealing how similar they are to the replicas. In some cases, they claim they're made in the same factories by the same hands, using the same materials. And the only real difference? The label. So what does it mean when the world's most luxurious fashion brands have more in common with Alibaba than with artisans in Provence? What happens when the truth becomes impossible to ignore? In 2025, we're not just watching a scandal. We're watching an empire tremble. The house of luxury has been built on carefully curated illusions, but the workers who built the foundation are done staying silent. And the brands? They're running out of places to hide. Welcome to the truth behind the tag. Welcome to the exposed underbelly of the luxury fashion world. Let's talk about Hermes, the undisputed monarch of quiet luxury. The name alone sends a signal: wealth, restraint, class. It's not loud. It doesn't need logos splashed across the front. And that's the power. If you know, you know. And if you don't, well, you were never part of the conversation to begin with. The Birkin bag, Hermes crown jewel, isn't sold. It's bestowed. You don't just walk into a boutique and ask for one. Oh no, you earn the right to buy it. Through years of loyalty, spending tens of thousands on scarves, bracelets, and shoes just to get on the wait list. And if you're lucky, maybe one day, your sales associate will invite you into the back room, where a black box sits on a velvet table. You open it, and there it is, the Birkin. It's not just a purse. It's a social passport, a currency, a symbol of access, subtle power, and unattainable elegance. Celebrities from Victoria Beckham to Kim Kardashian have flaunted their collections. Socialites hoard them like crown jewels. And for years, Hermes has maintained this pristine image of exclusivity and old-world craftsmanship. But here's the thing about exclusivity. It's only powerful if it's real. And in 2025, the veil is slipping. Because one TikTok, just one, sent a ripple through the luxury fashion world that's turning into a tsunami. In a now viral video, a factory worker in China films herself surrounded by neat rows of Hermes bag handles. We're talking hundreds, each one stamped with the unmistakable Hermes logo. Perfect leather, flawless stitching, no fakes, no counterfeits, the real deal. And the caption? Simple, but devastating. Making luxury handles for Europe. Let that sink in. These weren't knockoffs. These were components destined for the Hermes supply chain. The kind of pieces you'd assume were being hand-stitched in a sleepy French village, surrounded by lavender fields and artisanal pride. But no, they were in an industrial zone in southern China. And once that video hit the algorithm, everything changed. Because for years, industry insiders have whispered about Hermes outsourcing. There were rumors, subtle reports, off-the-record comments. Logistics experts talked about early-stage processing happening in Asia. But nothing was confirmed. Nothing public. Hermes, ever silent, kept its myth intact. Until now, more videos followed. Different accounts. Different angles. Some showed stacks of bag bodies. No hardware yet. No lining. Others revealed gloved hands affixing straps to partially completed bags, with visible internal codes matching those found in actual Hermes products. One factory worker even held up a roll of embossed leather and said, "This is for France." They add the hardware, stamp, "Made in France," and sell it for $20,000. Suddenly, the illusion shattered. Hermes had built its empire on the fantasy of scarcity. That a single craftsman in France spends 48 hours making your bag from start to finish. That each piece is signed internally by the artisan who made it. That the wait list exists because production is slow, careful, artisanal. But if parts of that process are happening in China, if raw components are being mass-produced overseas and only finished in France, what are you really paying for? What does that $20,000 tag represent? A bag or a brand? And here's where the story gets messy, Sources inside the logistics and sourcing industries, people with decades of experience in global manufacturing, have quietly confirmed what the TikToks exposed. Hermes isn't alone. Many luxury brands do this. But Hermes? They were the ones we thought were different. Untouchable. Devoutly European. And that's why this scandal stings so deeply. Because this isn't just about where the bags are made. It's about betrayal. Consumers trusted Hermes. They justified the obscene prices because they believed in the craftsmanship. They believed in the story. That their bag was different from fast fashion. Different from mid-tier luxury. that a French artisan had breathed life into every stitch. But what if it wasn't? What if your rare, waitlisted Birkin has more in common with a $150 dupe than you'd like to admit? There's even speculation that some of these Chinese factories are moonlighting, producing Hermes components during the day and running replica operations at night. Same machines, same workers, slightly different logos. And if you've ever held a super fake next to a real Hermes, you know, the difference is almost imperceptible. This isn't just a manufacturing controversy. It's an identity crisis for the brand, for the industry, and for the consumer. And while Hermes has yet to comment publicly, their silence speaks volumes. Because what can they say? Admit the videos are real and risk the brand collapsing? Deny it and risk being outed by even more whistleblowers, even more TikToks? And let's be honest, TikTok doesn't forget. Already, fashion watchdog accounts are digging deeper. They're analyzing stitch patterns, hardware markings, and supply chain documents. They're comparing serial codes and cross-referencing factory shipments. The digital forensics are brutal, and it's only getting worse. So now, a growing number of high-end consumers are asking the one question Hermes never wanted them to ask. Is this bag actually worth it? Not just financially, but ethically, spiritually, emotionally. Because luxury, true luxury, is supposed to mean something. It's supposed to be more than just money. It's supposed to be values, craftsmanship, legacy. And now, it might just mean marketing. The Hermes illusion has cracked. And once you see behind the curtain, you can never unsee it. Louis Vuitton, le monstre sacre of luxury fashion. The name itself conjures Parisian glamour, champagne on the Champs-Élysées, and timeless sophistication stamped in gold. For decades, the iconic LV monogram has reigned supreme, a universal symbol of style, success, and spending power. But behind the gold hardware and the buttery leathers is a story the brand never wanted told. And in 2025, it's unraveling thread by thread. Because while Louis Vuitton wants you to believe your handbag was born in a cobblestone atelier on the left bank, surrounded by French artisans sipping espresso and humming Edith Piaf, the reality is a whole lot more fluorescent. Leaked photos out of southern China tell a very different tale. We're not talking about some dingy backroom counterfeit operation. No, these are massive industrial plants. Rows of factory workers in uniforms, sitting at long metal tables, stitching monogrammed LV panels under flickering LED lights. Surveillance cameras on every corner. Deadlines posted on the wall in red marker. Production quotas that would make your head spin. The monogram? Authentic. The canvas? Real. The logos? Not knockoff, legit. These aren't fakes. These are the first stages of the real thing. And the people making them? They're not luxury artisans. They're hourly laborers. Former factory workers have come forward, anonymously, for fear of retaliation, saying they were sewing Louis Vuitton bags under brutal deadlines. One worker revealed she had less than 5 minutes to stitch each panel. Another said the factory ran overnight shifts during peak seasons, racing to fulfill massive European orders. And here's the kicker. Once those bags were mostly assembled, panels stitched, logos aligned, lining inserted, they weren't boxed up and shipped to Louis Vuitton stores. They were shipped to France, to Italy, to branded workshops where a few strategic finishing touches would be added. Maybe a strap, maybe a zipper, maybe a tag. And then, just like magic, made in France. It sounds like a scam, but legally, it's airtight. Because under European Union labeling laws, a product is allowed to bear the Made in France or Made in Italy label as long as its last substantial transformation happens in that country. The phrase is vague, intentionally so. And luxury brands? They've mastered the loophole. What counts as substantial? Not much. Add a button. Insert a zipper. Heat stamp a serial number. That's enough. Voila. It's suddenly luxury. Your $3,000 Louis Vuitton never full might be 90% manufactured in Guangdong. But if one seam gets stitched in Paris, it passes the test. It's branded. It's French. And it's marked up tenfold. This is the dirty secret at the core of the luxury supply chain. And it's not just about efficiency. It's about profit. Producing in Europe is expensive. Wages are high. Regulations are strict. Unions are active. But in Asia, labor is cheap. Hours are long. Oversight is minimal. Brand can squeeze costs, increase volume, and still slap on that same prestigious label. The consumer doesn't know. The boutique doesn't disclose. And the brand gets away with it. Louis Vuitton isn't just a fashion house. It's a machine. It sells over $20 billion worth of handbags, luggage, shoes, and accessories annually. It's the crown jewel of LVMH, the world's largest luxury conglomerate. And behind every gleaming storefront, every velvet-lined box, is a supply chain optimized for maximum efficiency and minimal transparency. And now, the cracks are showing. In one viral TikTok, a former Louis Vuitton factory worker shared a blurry video of stacks of monogrammed canvas sheets drying on metal racks. Her caption, "We made these bags for Paris. Don't believe the label." In another clip, a user claimed to have worked for a logistics firm in Hong Kong that processed cargo for high-end European brands. She described pallets of half-finished Louis Vuitton bags moving through ports like any other export. No ceremony, no security, just product. Fashion watchdog accounts on Instagram and YouTube started digging. They found shipping manifests that matched the claims. Customs records that showed thousands of kilograms of synthetic leather goods bound for France from factories registered under vague shell corporations. The pieces fit. The timeline matched. And Louis Vuitton? Dead silent. They don't deny it. They don't confirm it. They do what luxury brands always do when caught with blood on their seams. Nothing. They bank on silence, on consumer apathy, on the power of the brand to outlast the scandal. And for the most part, it works. Because Louis Vuitton doesn't sell handbags. It sells status. It sells the dream of being part of an elite club. And calling out the brand for playing fast and loose with the truth? That feels like heresy, like admitting you bought into a lie. But here's the truth, laid bare. Louis Vuitton is running a global shell game. They outsource the hard work. They insource the label. And they charge you thousands for the illusion of authenticity. Your made in France bag? It might have been sewn by a woman in China who earns less in a month in the tax on your LV wallet. And if you think the price tag guarantees European purity, think again. Because at the end of the day, it's not about where the bag was made. It's about where the profit was made. And Louis Vuitton has perfected the art of luxury laundering, turning Asian labor into French prestige with nothing more than a hot stamp and a legal loophole. So the next time someone flaunts their Louis Vuitton tote and brags about how it was handcrafted in France, just smile. Because now you know the truth. It may have passed through Paris, but it was born in a factory a world away. And no amount of monogramming can hide that. Gucci, the name alone drips with prestige. It's red carpet royalty, pop culture iconography, and runway dominance all rolled into one. From the fashion houses of Florence to the stages of the Met Gala, Gucci has sold itself as the beating heart of Italian craftsmanship, a brand born from artisan tradition, old world luxury, and timeless style. And every time you glance at a Gucci label, you'll see the proof, made in Italy. It's stamped like a badge of honor, reinforcing the story that what you're buying is more than a bag. It's Italian heritage, European mastery, a promise that skilled hands, trained in the highest standards of artisanal work, poured hours into your item, one careful stitch at a time. But what if we told you that story, like so much in luxury fashion, isn't just exaggerated? What if it's a lie? Because the truth behind Gucci's Made in Italy label is more complicated, more disturbing. And it begins not in a glamorous Florentine atelier, but behind a locked door in an industrial zone outside Prado. Inside, rows of workers hunched over sewing machines, laboring in silence. The air thick with the smell of glue and synthetic leather. Surveillance cameras watching every move. Breaks are short. Shifts are long. Wages? Barely livable. But these aren't factories in China or Vietnam. These are right inside Italy. And the workers? They're Chinese. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's not internet gossip. It's documented, verified, and increasingly exposed by labor rights organizations, investigative journalists, and, most shockingly, by the workers themselves. For over a decade now, a network of Chinese-owned garment factories has taken root in Italy, particularly in Tuscany. At first glance, it seems legitimate, legal businesses operating on Italian soil. But look closer and a disturbing picture emerges. Many of these factories are contracted, directly or indirectly, by major fashion houses, including Gucci. In theory, this still satisfies the Made in Italy standard. After all, the bags are being assembled on Italian ground. But dig deeper, and you uncover the dark secret at the core of the Gucci myth. These workers, mostly Chinese migrants, many undocumented or in vulnerable legal positions, are laboring in conditions that would never be. The scandal surrounding Hermes, Louis Vuitton, and the illusion of Made in France has shattered more than just the illusion of craftsmanship. It's ignited a firestorm that's burning straight through Hollywood's front row. Because this was never just about factories and loopholes. It was about trust, storytelling, and the lifestyle fantasy we've all been sold, especially by celebrities. Enter Jennifer Lopez. Lo has always positioned herself as a queen of luxury. She doesn't just wear fashion, she embodies it. Whether she's gliding down the Met Gala steps in a custom Ralph Lauren gown or getting papped with a Birkin in one hand and a green juice in the other, she is the definition of curated glamour. For decades, she's walked the line between Bronx-born authenticity and billionaire opulence with surgical precision. So when a TikTok clip of her surfaced last year, surrounded by at least 10 Hermès bags, casually declaring she only supports brands that honor craftsmanship, tradition, and real artistry, it felt perfectly on brand. She wasn't just showing off. She was making a statement. I only buy real luxury. But then came the receipts. As the Hermes TikTok scandal exploded, fans started tagging her in the comment sections of every viral post. Hey J.Lo, is this the craftsmanship you were talking about? Did your Birkin come from China too? How's that tradition holding up now? At first, her team ignored it. But the internet doesn't forget. And the silence became deafening. Soon after, several of J.Lo's posts featuring luxury bags mysteriously vanished. The Instagram photo of her birthday Birkin, gifted by Ben Affleck, gone. A sponsored story tagging a luxury watch brand, archived. Suddenly, the woman who built her persona around aspirational wealth was backpedaling, and fans noticed. But Jennifer isn't the only one getting caught in the backlash. The ripple effect hit hard across the influencer and celebrity ecosystem. Fashion bloggers who'd built their entire brand around unboxing Louis Vuitton hauls and flaunting their Hermes relationship with boutique staff started getting dragged in the comments. Fake rich. Factory flexing. Did you buy it? Or did Alibaba? And just like that, what once screamed wealth and exclusivity started to feel embarrassing. One major influencer, whose name we'll leave out but who regularly collaborates with LVMH brands, quietly removed a highlight reel titled Luxury Life. The silence is breaking. For years, whispers echoed through the corridors of fashion's elite. Stylists, interns, and logistics workers all saw the same thing. The bags didn't always start in France. The silk wasn't always woven in Italy. The hardware wasn't forged in Parisian ateliers. And now, those whispers are turning into full-blown confessionals. Because when you've seen the truth up close and watched the world eat up the lie, eventually you break. In early 2025, a former logistics manager from a major luxury fashion house, whose parent company is one of the most powerful in the world, spoke anonymously to Le Monde. His words were careful, but damning. 60% of our leather goods were touched in Asia, he revealed. That's the word they used. Touched, as if it were a blessing. But really it just means assembled. Panels cut, logos applied, zippers sewn, whole bags built. Then they're shipped to Europe for finishing. A tag here, a clasp there, and voila, made in France. But it wasn't just one man. It was a floodgate. A series of leaks, timed just weeks apart, showed internal emails from supply chain teams using code words like pre-assembly zones and low-cost transformation hubs. Another revealed that an Italian luxury label, synonymous with leather craftsmanship, had 70% of its raw materials imported from Chinese factories that specialize in mass production. Even more disturbing, One memo described strategic overproduction in Asia to create a buffer inventory for flash sales and influencer gifting. Essentially a second-tier version of luxury made at scale and handed out like candy to keep buzz alive. Luxury wasn't handcrafted anymore. It was calculated, modeled, outsourced, optimized, and it was all being kept under wraps with airtight NDAs, offshore shell companies, and a carefully curated fantasy fed to the public one runway show at a time. But the fantasy is starting to crack. Because in March 2025, France's Direction Générale de la Concurrence, de la Consommation et de la Répression de Fraudes, the DGCCRF, essentially the watchdogs of consumer protection, confirmed what insiders had long suspected. An investigation was underway. In a leaked internal report, regulators admitted they were looking into widespread deceptive origin labeling among top-tier fashion houses, naming no brands directly, but listing suspicious supply routes from Asia to France, Italy, and Switzerland. Routes that conveniently lined up with what whistleblowers had been describing for years. Another leaked document referenced non-compliance with ethical manufacturing disclosures and abuse of legal ambiguity in country of origin claims. Translation: the labels might be legal, but the spirit of the law? Violated. The same week that reports surfaced, the European Commission issued a statement urging luxury brands to adopt transparent supply chain tracking systems and warned that failure to do so might result in new legislation, ones with real teeth. We're talking financial penalties, import bans, class action exposure, the kind of scrutiny that could shatter a brand's pristine image overnight. And the fallout is already starting to show. One major fashion conglomerate quietly scrubbed its website of the phrase 100% made in France. Another pulled a glossy behind-the-scenes video of its French workshops, after it was revealed that none of the bags shown had been made from scratch there. Just finished, just dressed up, just good enough to pass. And as this scandal snowballs, the people who kept it quiet for years, they're starting to flip. A factory sourcing consultant in Shenzhen admitted he was hired by a major European brand to help them locate workshops that could mimic European techniques, but at half the cost. They wanted the bags to look handmade, but be fast. They even asked for aged leather to match their signature look, he confessed. It was all a performance. A former marketing executive at an Italian luxury brand went even further, calling the entire system an illusion built on colonial outsourcing. She said her team would brainstorm which elements of a product could legally qualify for a European label while doing the bulk of production elsewhere. It was like playing Tetris with regulations, she said. What's the least we can do in Italy and still make it legal? That was the real conversation. But if insiders are finally talking, it's not just out of guilt. It's fear, because the regulators are circling. The media's on fire, and the internet, ruthless. TikTok investigators are cross-referencing customs data with Instagram launch dates. Twitter threads are breaking down factory geolocations. YouTubers are tracing serial numbers and uncovering manufacturing codes that don't match the official narratives. This is no longer a niche scandal. It's a reckoning. Luxury fashion has always relied on mystique, on smoke and mirrors, on the idea that if something costs $5,000, it must be special. But now, that illusion is being ripped away, and what's underneath isn't art. It's a machine powered by exploited labor, manipulated laws, and a public too dazzled to ask questions. And the insiders who built it, they're finally admitting the dream was fake. So as regulators dig deeper, as whistleblowers come forward, and as the truth trickles into mainstream consciousness, one thing is becoming crystal clear. The world's most glamorous industry might just be its most deceptive, and the age of blind brand worship might be over. The TikToks haven't just gone viral, they've gone nuclear. What started as a few blurry clips of unidentified handbags in overseas factories has spiraled into a global digital uprising. Factory workers, many of them young, many anonymous, are no longer just showing glimpses of what they make. They're revealing everything. Names, batch numbers, internal memos, shipping labels, The kind of receipts that make PR departments lose sleep. One clip, viewed over 12 million times, shows a stack of Made in France tags, still sealed in plastic, sitting on a table in Guangzhou. The worker narrates in Mandarin, her voice casual but deliberate. These are shipped separately. We attach them before they go to Europe. Another worker pans over a table of finished handbags, signature stitching, embossed logos, premium leather, and says, these are pre-orders for European brands. We make 300 units per day. The comments explode. That's a Birkin layout. Wait, is that the same style they said was handcrafted in Paris? $5,000 for this? And then some of those videos disappear. Quietly. Overnight. Entire accounts vanish with no explanation. Viewers refresh their bookmarks and see the dreaded message. User not found. The speculation begins immediately. Were they paid off? Did the brands threaten legal action? Did TikTok suppress the content? Whatever the cause, the damage is done. Screenshots live forever. Downloads are circulating. And now, what was once whispered in niche corners of fashion Reddit is front and center on the For You page. This isn't just a scandal. It's a movement. The hashtag luxury exposed is trending worldwide. Stitch after stitch, users are dissecting every luxury myth we've been sold. Zooming in on handbags, comparing construction details, decoding serial numbers, and linking them back to known Chinese manufacturing hubs. One viral post shows side-by-side footage, a $5,000 made in France tote and a $50 dupe from AliExpress, both stitched the same way, both using nearly identical materials. Explain this, the caption reads. The silence from luxury brands? Deafening. Gen Z and millennial consumers, once the lifeblood of luxury's influencer economy, are turning on the very brands they made famous. And they're not mincing words. Why do we pay thousands for bags made in the same place as fast fashion? Why did influencers lie about craftsmanship? Why did nobody tell us the truth? And behind those questions is a deeper rage. Not just at the price tags, but at the betrayal. Because luxury was never just about the item. It was about the story. The exclusivity. The myth that someone, somewhere, made this with love, care, and artistry. But now that myth is unraveling, thread by thread. Creators who once flaunted luxury hauls are backpedaling fast. Apology videos are popping up. I didn't know, I feel duped. I won't promote brands that lie to us. Some are deleting their brand partnerships altogether. Others are turning those partnerships into exposés. One former fashion influencer dropped a 40-minute video titled The Lie Behind Every Luxury Bag I Promoted. In it, she admits that PR reps fed her origin stories, crafted in Italy, hand-stitched in Paris, without offering proof. She says she asked once. They dodged. She never asked again. Now, her comment section is filled with followers saying, "Thank you for telling the truth." But why did it take this long? Because the truth was never part of the business model. Luxury fashion sold status, aspiration, and fantasy. And social media was its loudest echo chamber. Until now. Now that same machine is turning against them. Even longtime defenders of the fashion world are sounding the alarm. Industry journalists are calling for a new era of radical transparency. Some are demanding legislation. Others are naming names. One columnist at Business of Fashion wrote, "If luxury brands don't address the crisis head-on, they're not just risking profits, they're risking cultural extinction." And it's not just talk. Boycotts are gaining traction. Threads listing brands to avoid until they disclose sourcing are getting tens of thousands of likes. Shopping guides that spotlight truly ethical alternatives, smaller brands with verified supply chains, are being shared at lightning speed. Consumers are choosing values over logos. Some users are even tracking where celebrity closets came from, then cross-referencing those items with known supplier leaks. That $15,000 bag, Jay, that Low wore last year, one video says, "We found the factory, and it's in Zhejiang province." The trust is broken. And once trust is gone in luxury, what's left? Because the emperor has no clothes. Or worse, he's wearing a knockoff made in the same factory as the real thing. This isn't just a backlash. It's a reckoning. The kind luxury houses can't PR their way out of. Not when their own supply chains are testifying against them. Not when TikTok users have become forensic investigators. Not when public opinion is this united. And if brands think they can stay silent and wait it out, they misread the room. This generation doesn't forget. It screenshots. It reposts. It organizes. It investigates. And it demands answers. Because now we're not just asking where something was made. We're asking why we were lied to. And until the truth is on the label, the only thing luxury fashion might be selling is shame. This isn't just a PR nightmare. It's not just a little bad press or an influencer scandal that will blow over with a new campaign and a fresh face. No, this is a reckoning. For over a century, the luxury fashion industry didn't just sell products. They sold a fantasy. A world where elegance lived in a Parisian atelier, where a scarf was poetry and a handbag was heritage. Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, these weren't just brands. They were empires, sacred temples of taste and timelessness, guarded by master artisans and immortal runway shows. Or so we thought, because what this scandal has exposed is far bigger than fake origin labels or hidden Chinese factories. What's unraveling isn't just supply chains, it's trust. And more importantly, the myth. The entire myth of luxury. We believed in craftsmanship, in scarcity, in the artisan's touch. But what we got was assembly line secrecy and billion-dollar branding strategies built to hide the truth. What's the difference between a $5,000 handbag and a $50 replica when they were both made across the same border? Marketing. What's the difference between made in France and touched in Asia, then finished in France? Loopholes. What's the difference between heritage and hustle? Apparently not much. Because when you peel back the gold foil and the embossed boxes, the luxury world starts to look a lot more like fast fashion dressed in couture. It's all about perception, controlling what you see, what you think, what you believe. Luxury has never been about accessibility. It was never meant to be questioned. That's the whole point. The price tag wasn't just for materials, it was for mystery, for the privilege of not knowing. I'm not asking. The silence was part of the package. But now, the curtain is gone. The audience is talking. The illusion is shattered. TikTok, YouTube, leaked documents, angry customers. This generation is rewriting the rules in real time. And suddenly, legacy brands are scrambling to explain what made in France really means. Spoiler, it's not what you think. Because here's the truth luxury doesn't want to admit. This was never about quality. Not really. This was about control. Controlling who gets to wear what, who gets to know what, who gets to sit front row, and who stays outside the velvet rope. It was about gatekeeping, power, prestige, and profit margins. It was about convincing the world that a handbag could be a status symbol, so long as you never found out it came off the same belt as a mass-produced dupe. But now, the fantasy is collapsing, and with it, the entire foundation. Customers aren't just angry, they're insulted. Influencers aren't just deleting posts, they're turning into whistleblowers. Regulators aren't just watching, they're coming. And for the first time in decades, luxury brands are being forced to do something they were never built to do. Defend themselves. Because when the smoke clears, we're left with one undeniable truth. If your identity is built on a lie, no amount of stitching can hold it together. So what comes next? Will Hermes open its supply chains to the public? Will Gucci own up to its outsourcing? Will Louis Vuitton rewrite its definition of craftsmanship? Or will they dig in deeper, polish the illusion, and try to gaslight us into silence? Whatever they choose, one thing's for sure. The public isn't waiting anymore. The veil is off. The trust is gone. And the dream? The dream is dead. Luxury, as we knew it, has collapsed. Not with a bang, but with a TikTok. And now we know. Luxury was never about craftsmanship. It was about control. And now, they've lost it.